With the addition, finally, of the Empowder Duette, I can finally give you a completed complexion base routine that I absolutely adore. So come along with me on this tutorial so that I can give you an updated base routine using our new Empowder Duette and feeling good all day long. Okay, so my skin prep is done and now I'm going in, so sunscreen's a part of that, and now I'm going in with my primer. I am bang when I'm not tanned, and then I move up to burst when I am. So good old me right now in Melbourne weather, bang it is. Okay, so I'm using brush 1. I designed this because I feel like it's like the ultimate complexion brush. Enjoy while we're at my home, hearing all the birds and the surrounding trees. It's like a menagerie. Make sure you get your ears. It's always a disconnection of color there, particularly even if you're wearing your hair up to go behind the ears. In this case for me today, I'm not, so I won't. People ask me if you should use your primer under the eyes. Normally I would say not to do any extra product except for concealer and eye cream under the eyes, but because it's so conditioning and hydrating, I love it. So yeah, go for gold. Because it's a bit of a day of in the office and looking good, I am going to wear a foundation. Most of the time I don't, because I find that the primer and concealer with some blush and contour is enough. But for today, just for the diffused redness, I'm going to use some foundation. So I'll do that off camera and come back. I will give you a little tip though. I do find in masterclasses that people's brush use, because no one's ever taught you, so no shame here, but just some education. If your brush is pushed to the side like that or splayed out, you're pushing too hard. I might work quite quickly on my face so it looks like I'm smushing, but always I'm just using the tips, the white fibers of the brush. The white fibers are there really as a guide so that you know how little you should be pushing. If you're pushing or your product ends up on the dark fibers, it means you're going too hard. Okay, for concealer, I obviously love to get in there and brighten. If you have under eye darkness, purple, blue tones, any around the face, color correction is crucial. I might not have issues with under eye tones. I have other things going on, don't you worry. But for me, I can go straight into a brightening color. But if you do have that where you need color correction, please. If your products are looking ashy or green or gray, that means you should be color correcting before your brightener. Brush 2, I love this for my brightening and my concealer. I feel like it just gives me a really good access into areas. I call it like the nooks and cranny brush. You can really get in there. But I also really like it because it allows you to get nice straight lines without, if you go with a too big a brush, you're just going to be blurring it all together. So small and precise. If you feel like it's too precise, super normal. That's why we always keep your complexion #1 brush only to be used for your complexion products, because you can go in there and use it as a bit of an eraser. Super easy. Don't go and use your complexion brush with your blush, like your blushes and your highlights, etc., because you're blending all the colors together and you'll end up putting blush all over your face. One of my favorite tricks is to actually use the primer in a darker shade. For me, the one that works the best is Boom. I actually really like how the minis can be an easy applier. I know so many of you don't like using too many instruments or hands on your face, so easy to apply. I like it because it's really natural. I've used lots of different bronzers in my life and over my career, and they can look really textural on the skin. And I think the success of using the primers in the darker shade is it ultimately looks like skin. So you're only getting that contour and that depth, and the bronziness, but you're not getting the texture or the obvious look of makeup. I'm using brush 4, which is one of my favorites. It's a great sort of foundation style brush, so I can use the angle, the thin part to create the angles, and then when I go to blush, I can use the thicker part. A part for the nose, you can even squish it together if you want it to be a finer point. Don't worry if you make mistakes, my loves. It happens all day, every day to me. The difference between you and I is that I know how to correct, so I'm here to teach you all those tips and tricks. This is where correction comes in. I stuffed up my nose, go in there with your concealer brush, she's fixed, soften it off, easy done. Go in with your complexion brush to go and fix up the lines around your jawline. It's how easy it is to fix a mistake. We're here to back you on that. I know it's biased of me to say that I love something, but I guess I create the very things that I know are missing in the industry, in the market, and also things that I know that I will love. Blushes are great because you can use them by themselves. You can also do what I like to do. You can stack the darker ones higher and the brighter ones lower. You can mix 1, 2, 3 together to create your custom color. I'm loving doing this at the moment. So this is Mia and Gemma. So I use Mia for depth and then a bit of Gemma to give me that pretty kind of pop. Using brush 4, don't freak out. I get so many of you at this point in the masterclass where you completely freak out because you put too much on, it looks too aggressive. You've just got to go in slowly, start to blend it, Trust the process. And again, the correction comes from your base tools. So I'm going in with my concealer brush now around the outside edges to soften off the diffusion of the color, so it's not so definitive and you're not so stripy. I would really recommend, me knowing how the self-applier works, I would recommend doing this trick a lot, because you are going to find that your blush won't look quite streaky until you get to a point of feeling confident of diffusion. How pretty is this combination? Okay, so now for highlighter, you know how I like to lock it in and make it look really effortless and natural highlighting. Again, we highlight because we want it to look like the sun is bouncing off fresh, healthy skin. So I'm using it, I've loaded up my brush, and now I'm going to place it on the highest part of my cheekbone, taking it down. And you can see how natural a highlight that is. The water-based quality to this will allow it to look really effortless, skin-like, but also means it's water resistant, so it holds all day long. I also love putting it on my Cupid's bow, tip of my nose, inner corner of my eyes. And even a lot of our customers love using this and the darker shade in Flux on their eyes for like a super natural eyeshadow look. I'm being a bit cheeky. I can't sit here and have this gorgeous base without some lip color. I'm going in with the blushes. I'm mixing Mia and Gemma like I did with my cheeks to keep it very monochromatic. And I'm just gonna press it on my lips. Hyaluronic acid just makes them really juicy and plump. It feels really conditioning. It doesn't settle into lines. Look how easy it is to get that gorgeous color. Thank the Lord. I can finally talk about powder. Do you know how hard it is for me not to talk about powder? I mean, everyone's always said about us that we are a glowy brand. My loves, no, if you want to be a full matte, you go a full matte. The primer works for those that want a full matte. Like, it just gives you a bit of ambience behind your foundation. The powder is crucial, my darlings, absolutely crucial. You should know that if you've watched me for long enough. As a makeup artist, you need to use powder. And if I hear you saying in your head, but it makes me look textured and dry, I'm about to debunk that. I mean, is she glorious or is she glorious? Two tones, so here's how we work. We're gonna get the sponge. I've designed it deliberately to be a square. You wanna pinch the sides together for this part. Now I'm gonna do the under eye part first, or the areas that I use that brightening concealer. So I'm going in with the first top part. I'm getting into the corner and I'm going to then shape it out. I'm going to press it in lightly. I mean, can you see that? I mean, I know what it does, I designed it, but I mean, it's just so great to see it each time. So I'm using the translucent in the areas that I brightened with the concealer, super important. And again, my big part of developing this product was to make sure it didn't look heavy or textural. A lot of powders out in the market can be very glittery and glowy. We're wanting to use matte products strategically around the face to create balance and use the illumination in the strategic areas. There's a difference between glowy and sweaty. I like to then use the translucent in the area that I took up into my lifting area along my jawline. And I can just see a little bit of this sweaty look on my lips. I'm just gonna pop it there too. Girls who know. And a little bit up here. In those areas, this is where you want to be using your translucent, even if you haven't brightened, because if you use your face powder in like the full face powder, and don't get me wrong, I've designed it to be that you can use top and bottom differently, or if you are lazy and you can't be bothered and you're just not in the mood to do all the things, swirl it together and she's good to go. So something that might not be obvious, but this looks like it's got a fair bit of color behind it. It doesn't. I've designed it to be such a sheer pigment that it should be very, very undetectable on the skin. The only reason why it does have pigment is that you need to have some background pigment to stop any ashiness or gray tones. If you use a translucent all over your face, it'll be too bright on the face. So I've designed this to have a bit more illumination to the face, but without it looking glittery. It's really subtle in its luminosity. It's there and you can see it. It gives a beautiful sheen to the skin, but it's not obvious in its glitter, so it's really lovely. Look at that skin. So last but not least, we are going into Golden Hour Glow. I've got my little mini, I'm obsessed. Obviously I have my big ones everywhere, but these are just great and handy to put anywhere you need. So spraying the skin lightly, depends on how much you want it to be set. And then of course, this is not just to look cute. This is actually deliberately designed to dry down the setting spray. We want the setting spray to sort of reconfigure the way the powder's sitting on the skin. You can still see it's blurred and beautiful, but the setting spray brings back the life to the skin, making it look more lifelike. Okay, my dears, that is finally we can say it's our updated complexion routine with the addition of the Empowder Duette. Something that I'm really proud to present to you guys, and you can see how much of an impact it has on the skin. So I hope that was helpful for you, and enjoy your Powder Duette.